Okay, our next candidate to speak tonight is Geraldine Manning.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am a new candidate. This is my first time running for the school committee. I'm nervous. One of the things that I need to say to you was I was a full-time professor at Suffolk University, and I retired. And as of June, I was free. And my kid brother said to me, "Why did you want to run for school committee?" Oh my God, it's like jumping from one fire into another. I don't view it that way. I went to Quincy Public Schools all my life, and from kindergarten to a year at Quincy Junior College, and then went to Suffolk, and then went to Boston College to get a master's degree and a PhD. I view myself as having a lot of experience, and I need to share that experience with the city of Quincy. My question that came up in my mind as I was thinking about running for school committee is, do people know what's going on in the schools? I say to myself, we have to prepare these students to live and flourish in the 21st century. And that is going to require big, big changes in the schools. I'll give you some background on myself, and then I'll go into this in real detail. If I hadn't had all my experience in sociology, and for those of you who've never taken a sociology course, it's the study of groups, I would not be where I am today. Sociology has taught me so much. And when I came to Suffolk, I taught a course in technology and society, women at work, women in contemporary society, sociology of education, and cultural diversity. And I say to myself, without my sociological background, I couldn't have done this. And my sociological background tells me that we better focus on what the studies are saying about the 21st century. I identified with that person in the rear who said that she had a student who didn't know something that she knew, and she couldn't envision why she didn't know it. And I have had that experience with the group of students that are known as the millennials. I am shocked, and I had some students from Quincy, and they came up to me in class and said, would you tell us how a bill becomes a law? And I said, what? You never had civics? And they said, no. They said, some students said that they tried to get into a civics class for 4 years, and they couldn't. And I said to myself, this is all wrong, because if we don't teach students how to be full-fledged citizens, we're not doing the job. And all of this may have to do with, I suspect, teaching to the test, because the test that the students take doesn't test civics. So civics became unimportant. And I say to myself, that's so wrong, because we first have to make them good citizens, and then move on to more complex subjects. Now, one of the things that is true is we're looking at United States schools, and they're saying that most teach to the test, and that is not good. This is a huge mistake, and we're not serving students well by doing this. Now, I can tell you that there's money out there, and I mean big money in the billions, to provide us with what's happened, to teach us what to teach us how to teach. And this, I think, is good. The Gates Foundation is one of them. There are many places that are providing money for education, and I don't hear any of that on the school committee. I don't hear that conversation happen, and I'm wondering, am I the only one that knows? And if I am, at least I'm telling you tonight, there is real money to learn how to prepare students for the 21st century. And it's not in separate subject areas. You have to combine subjects like art and technology. You have to combine what you're teaching. And I will tell you that I wouldn't have been a fan of this if I didn't see it in action. And it creates a lot of interest among the students. They work well together, and they produce good work. And I don't know if I would say I'm a fan of, everything new. I'm not. But this is the way our society is leading, and we're going to have to. We're not preparing kids to get a job. We're preparing maybe some kids to get a first job, but we're preparing kids to be in the complex 21st century. And that means they're in competition with every other person who's looking for a job in the world. So we're preparing kids for careers, and we're preparing them to have complex situations. One of the things that I have found in reading in this area is that they say that we have to teach kids to think outside the box. We have to not keep them constrained in a discipline. And that means we have to help our teachers. I know that the teachers of Quincy are doing an excellent job with the resources that they have. But I think we can provide them with a lot more with this new way of teaching. And I'm all for it. And I don't know whether anybody has read into this literature, but it's a very interesting body of literature. And if you haven't, maybe you need to do some of it, or talk to me. Come and talk to me. And again, we have to also teach our children about the benefits. And this is a sad and sorry tale. I went over to the public library, the main branch, and talked to the reference librarian. And I asked her how many high schoolers ever come and asked her where are the books on careers. They said, nobody ever comes. And I said to myself, oh my God, they don't know. There is a book called The Directory on Associations, and it tells you what different industries are doing. And it provides you as a student with a very low rate of joining. And then that association body helps you get a job in the field. It's crazy. The federal government provides a tremendous amount of help. There is a book called the Occupational Handbook, and it comes out every year by the federal government. The federal government tells you whether the career is going to grow or not in the next 20 years. What you have to have is background. And that's important for, students to know. And they don't look at these books. They're online too. So there's no excuse. I have to stop.
Thank you, Geraldine. Okay, our next candidate and our final candidate tonight for school committee is Mark Sauter.
All right, thank you everyone for sticking it out through the rest of the night. I am the last candidate, so just bear with me for 8 minutes or so, and then we'll be into the night. My name is Mark Sauter, and I live in Marymount with my wife Leah and our 2 young children. Maylee, who will be 3 years old this fall, and Frank, who's going to be 1 year old. So first, my wife's not here. She's getting the kids to bed, so I do want to recognize her and thank her. She's seeing this on social media somewhere. With a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, it's difficult for me to be out knocking doors and doing these campaign events, and she's done so much to take that burden. She works full-time also, so I definitely want to thank her and definitely recognize her for that. Thank you, James, for bringing this all together. As the president of the Marymount Association, I've hosted and organized 2 of these meeting candidate nights this fall already, and done one in the past for the mayor race in 2015. So I know this is a lot of work to put together, but it is incredibly important, and thank you for all the work that you do with the association and bringing us together. And thank you all for coming out tonight to learn about the candidates and the issues, and to be involved in the election this fall. There's no mayor's race, but it doesn't mean that there's important issues across the city. So please stay involved, talk to your neighbors, spread the word, and that will be better for all of us in Quincy. So why am I running for school committee? I'm running for school committee for the first main reason is I have a passion and dedication for improving Quincy. As I said, I have been the president of the Marymount Association for the past 4 years. The Marymount Association is the city's largest association, and it dates back 94 years. We have close to 400 households in the association this year. Budget is over $15,000. So it's quite a lot of work, a lot of energy, a lot of time spent on behalf of the association, but I do it because there's a great history, there's a great tradition to it, and it's important to my neighborhood, and it's important to across the city to have strong neighborhood associations. So I looked at this and I thought, well, I can get further involved in the city and be involved in the school committee. As the president of the Marymount Association, I've hosted meet the candidate nights, neighborhood cleanups, I've organized and run the July 4th parade every year in Marymount, which I'm sure some of you have been to. Family-friendly events, races, you name it, we do it down in Marymount, and I have the leadership and the management and the organization skills and the track record of getting people involved in the neighborhood that I think that I can take to the school committee as well. I also think that I would be an asset to the school committee because as a parent of 2 young children, that's a gap that needs to be addressed on the school committee. I think that it's great for the school committee to be well-rounded, to have people with diverse backgrounds, different perspectives. Currently on the school committee, we have former educators, current educators, we have a relatively recent former student who's on the school committee, but we don't have anyone who has young children who will soon be entering the school system. And I think that's a gap that needs to be addressed, and I think that I can address that. I think that I can bring fresh and innovative ideas as a parent of young children. And I'll give you an example of what I've done so far in Quincy in that vein. As many of you probably remember from having children in Quincy, the Recreation Department runs an outstanding winter Saturday morning gym program all across the city. and having a young toddler last winter, who, as many of you probably know from the days of having toddlers, a 2-year-old in the middle of winter is ready to get out of the house by 7, 8 a.m. So I said, well, this is great. There's this recreation department program on Saturday mornings. We can bring the kids out to it. Well, then I looked it up and realized it was for children 8 years and older. And I said, well, that doesn't seem to make sense. There's a whole host of children who are much younger than 8 years old in Quincy who would probably like a place to get some energy out. So I contacted the recreation director, brought this to his attention, and experienced a little bit of pushback. Tried to direct me to a couple other places, the YMCA, but I said, well, not everyone can afford the YMCA, and they don't run an open program on Saturday mornings. So I researched what some other cities and towns around Quincy do, and I realized, yes, they have programs for toddlers. And I said, well, I put this research together, I brought it back to the recreation director. Still didn't seem to be getting through. So then I organized an online petition. Quickly had over 300 signatures to this online petition. And each time someone signed that online petition, it emailed the recreation director. I think that got his attention. So he came back, and I worked with him, and we started Quincy Top Time over at the Four River Clubhouse. It started as a pilot program, 6 weeks long. The turnout was unbelievable. The kids had an enjoyable time, got energy out, got the exercise. The parents got to socialize, meet people from across Quincy. They ended up extending the pilot program all the way through the early spring, and they're going to keep doing that into the future. I'm working also with him to start a playground in the summer. Again, the recreation department has playground opportunities where they have staff, you can bring your kids in during the week. Again, they don't have anything for kids under 8 years old, so we're going to work on that for next summer. So that's an idea and a problem and a solution that I came up with because of having young children. And I'm going to do the same thing on the school committee with that. And it's not just going to be for young children, but that is a focus of mine, and I think it's a focus that's lacking on the school committee currently. I also am running for school committee because as a fellow public employee, I have a great admiration and respect for the hardworking teachers and staff that make up the Quincy public school system. My mother, she is a retired high school teacher, guidance counselor. My father, he is an attorney who represents public teacher unions. So I've always had a great respect and admiration for the public sector and for the education field in particular. During the day, I'm an attorney with the federal government. I started my career in Washington, D.C. as an attorney for the Department of Homeland Security. In Boston, I worked as an attorney for the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. It's a controversial job. Probably half the population thinks that we're doing too much in terms of deporting people, and probably the other half think that we're not doing enough. But what I take pride in and solace in is working to deport drug dealers, sex offenders, people who commit crimes in our country, and all of that, much of that focus is on keeping kids safe. And I think that my dedication and background in public service would be an asset to the committee. In law school, I studied education law, and I can take a look at a problem and analyze it in a measured and analytical way. That's the training that I received in law school. That's the training that I deal with every day, and some pretty complicated issues. I'll bring that to the school committee also. So what are some of the interests and goals that I have for the school committee? First, I fully recognize that there are two sets of shoes that we're trying to fill on the school committee, with Ann moving on to the counselor at large race and Barbara Sol stepping down. So I want to come into this and I want to learn from others, and I want and I fully understand that not everything that I have ideas for is going to get implemented, but I'm going to work hard and push forward on some of these ideas. One of the things that I think is vitally important, and I think our city is slowly coming around to it, is updating and expanding our substance abuse curriculum to deal with the opioid crisis that has hit our city so hard, has hit the entire South Shore, our state, and our country so hard. We need to be doing everything we can to educate our students about the dangers, the risks of the opioids, and we need to be offering counseling services and other things like that to our students to prepare them to fight against this opioid epidemic. share some of the other things that have been brought up from the other candidates tonight. I would like to expand pre-K. I'd like to bring recess back into the day. There was a bill before the Massachusetts legislature that was in the Joint Education Committee today that would mandate 20 minutes of recess per day. I think that's vitally important. At the middle school level, I'd like to expand the foreign language options that are offered to include Chinese Mandarin. The city has 15,000 people who have a Chinese background. It's an important language on the international business level, on the international business world scheme, and I think that that's something that we need to be teaching our middle schools, or at least offering in some of the middle schools. At the high school level, one thing that I would like to push is to have one dedicated scholarship fund for graduating seniors that the city of Quincy could sponsor. Boston does that. They work with corporations, individuals to bring in donations to fund the scholarship. College costs are incredibly expensive, and if there's something that we could do to recognize some of our hardworking and skilled seniors, even with a small scholarship, that would be something that I'd be fully in favor of. So I'm at the time limit right here, but I want to thank again James for hosting this. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. And I have my card over here, my website, sauter.com. Please let me know if you'd like to get involved in the campaign, post a yard sign or anything like that. And thank you all. Take care.
Thanks, Mark. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you all for coming out tonight, and obviously thank you to the candidates as well. We appreciate this. As I said at the forefront, this is something that really is at the heart of what we do as the Montclair Neighborhood Association. It's what we're founded on, to be able to give folks the platform and the opportunity to interact with those in government, and obviously those seeking office in government. So it's important. We do not have a meeting this Thursday, so this was a meeting for September. We will meet again in October. Did we have a question? I think we're out of time, but feel free to. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Good night.